All right, so thermal imaging, super cool, right? So you guys can see me in that picture. I'm orange, red, and yellow. That means I'm the warmest thing inside the picture right now. So really what we're looking for, this is set up to black, cold, white, hot. So black is the coldest thing. So just think creepy and spooky is going to be the things that we're looking for. So if you take me out of the picture, it's going to fluctuate. You see how some orange, red, and yellow came in now?
Yeah.
We're looking for blue and black spots to move on their own. So that's really what we're looking for. So we're always going to try to keep somebody in view. So even if the camera stays on me all night, you know, just have a lot of other background things. Or if it's on mom, it doesn't matter. We're not going to be able to recognize anybody, trust me, unless somebody knows I'm exactly 96.7 degrees. So you're going to try to keep somebody in view at all times. So you're going to hold it horizontal, just like this all night. And this red square right there means it's recording. So all you have to do is not touch the screen. So if you do, let me know and we'll get it started again. And I just have to splice some video together. That means put them both together. So that way you have one video to watch. Kind of like YouTubers, when you see that little break and it, you know, it's like they move one spot real quick. They splice video together so that way they don't have to, you get a bunch of little videos. They make one big one. It's the same principle.
So we're looking for blue and black things that move. Is that just all?
Pretty much. And his finger on this side is like right in front of the camera.
Oh.
There you go. So this is the camera. Okay, so try not to hold it by that. You want to hold the phone itself. So there you go. You got it. And of course all the buttons are going to be here and right here. So if you hit any of those things, just let me know. It's not that big a deal. I can fix it. We just have to get you back on track. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with EMF meters. I'm just going to keep this out on my bag because you already have a copy with you.
Okay.
So this is going to stay out on my bag, but the TV shows never explain what these guys are.
Yeah.
Or how they actually work. So they measure 3 different types of electromagnetic fields. There's 3 different types. The first one's natural, comes from the Earth. The Earth gives off a little bit of a wavelength. That's why it's green, it's not doing anything. The next one's going to be from electronic devices. So any kind of wiring, parking meters, cell phones, if it was on top of this, it's going to make it go into a rhythm. We don't want that rhythm either. Now, your TV shows are going to show a quick little blip, and did you see that? Like, we're not doing that tonight. We're going to try to debunk everything. Okay, so the next thing we're looking for, wow, it's actually going off a little bit. That's pretty cool. There's a story here. Nope. It would literally have to be right here. If it's going to...
okay. Oh, okay.
See how it's going to give a pulse? It's going to give another red one in like 2 seconds.
Okay.
So that's how that works. That's a rhythm. I want it to go crazy. I want it to go a little erratic. The funny thing is in this building, which is haunted, which is another reason why we started here, is this is the only place I've ever gotten EMF from. It's in the front, right inside this window. I wasn't expecting it to do anything. Just so you know.
Wow.
That's going to stay in my bag. Right there so we can all see it.
Okay.
Mom, let's get you sit up.
I'm ready.
She's like, let's do this.
You did.
Alright, so my spirit box is a little different than what you see on TV. So the spirit box that I have set up is going to record. The cool thing is it's going to record even when it's on mute. So even when I'm telling you guys some history and some stories, you're going to turn it down and it's still going to record at a nice even level. It's wonderful. Love this guy. And it doesn't record any outside noise, meaning it won't hear any of us. Wow, how weird is that?
It's creepy.
But it's awesome in a good way. This one, you know spirit boxes, it's that white noise, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, Zach Bagan said he heard this.
Yeah.
And then he tells you what he heard. Well, now you have to do it in real time. So the cool thing is this is almost like you're going to start off as a novice, a pretty amateur ghost hunter, and then by the end of this, you're going to be asking whatever questions you want. And I'm not going to tell you what those answers are. The spirit box will.
Oh my God. Okay.
This one is slowed down. This one is not just going to be white noise. I want the radio chatter to come through.
Okay.
Because you guys aren't used to listening to this, I did this on purpose. So, for example, your mask, is it red? Is that the color I'm seeing? So, you say, what color is my mask? It might say, during holiday time, Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. So we got Rudolph the nosed reindeer that we don't need, but we do have the color red. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's how we're listening for this. We're listening for song lyrics and DJs and commercials and all that mess that comes
through. So we won't hear it with our ears, but we'll...
No, we will hear it in real time. The cool thing is, like right now I'm setting it up to record because it's already sweeping.
Yeah.
It's already recording. So I'm going to listen to it tomorrow and little hot spots and clips throughout and see what I hear and give you the verifiable links of why it's actually evident. So, and why it actually works for the location where we are. So you have one button to worry about. Oh, you lost your coffee cup. That's
I
what
put it
you're
over there.
So there's a button or a wheel
In
at
your
the
bag.
top. So there's a button. You don't want to touch the button. There's a wheel right next to it. You control the volume. It's that simple. You can see the radio station's already sweeping.
Okay.
So
it's searching for it.
So think of this. Did you guys see the movie Transformers?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, Transformers?
Yeah, Transformers.
Yeah.
So Bumblebee, right? He talks through the radio. Same principle.
Okay.
He uses the voice of the DJs and whatever's coming through to be able to convey what he needs to convey.
Oh,
It's the same thing.
Okay.
So, and again, we might not always get direct answers. Sometimes the spirits will say, oh, I need to latch onto that because that makes sense. That was the year I died, or that was what I died from. You know, even though we said, hey, when did you get married?
Yeah.
They want to tell you when they died. So, because that was what was available. So this isn't always a, hey, what color's my mask? Red. And you're not going to always hear that. It's going to be something relevant to that location. Last but not least, I'm going to show you more as we move along. But I do want to put something on me too. So I use a certain app on my phone. It's another spirit box, but it works a little differently. So mine, and this is a tool that I only use when I have groups of 3 like this. I have another phone set up with just this app. It goes to another person. So I want to make sure you guys have as much as possible. The cool thing about this one is it's going to give us a word in the center of the screen from time to time. Okay, this is a paid version of the app, so it has a pretty large vocabulary, over 9,000 terms and phrases. And then it's going to save all those words to a list. Here's what I'm going to tell you about this list. 80% of it doesn't mean anything. This thing's meant to be a game and a hoax. It's meant for fun. Right?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so, but if you notice, everybody has something electronic. There's no dowsing rods, there's no Ouija boards, no tarot cards, nothing manual that somebody says, oh, I feel this. It's all about the data. So this is an electronic device. Oh, we already got the word rust. So it could be part of the 80% that doesn't mean anything. We never know. Until I start going through it, and it might actually be something that happened with
It
this
might be
building
like
with
the
the rest.
ghosts putting a word up there. Is that what you're
Correct.
saying?
So 5 to 20% of this, so anywhere between 2 to 10 terms, are actually going to be relevant to our place tonight. Stones. So we got rust and stones. So again, periodically I'll check the list just to see if I can make out a sentence or if anything is relatable to another word or something I may have missed because I was telling you a story.
Okay.
So I'm not going to clear that out, but so far we have 2 words. The average for this is about 50 to 55 terms in a 90-minute period. If we get more than that, it just means that we have more activity, and some of that stuff I just can't make out or I can't decipher what it means.
Yeah.
So it might, I'll say it's part of the 80% doesn't mean anything, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't. So as we move throughout the night, I'm going to show you how the lasers work, because those lasers are pretty cool. And Mom, just so you know, at the very top of your data page, I'm sure you already noticed, I have links of how I got all this stuff and where to get it from. In case somebody has a birthday, Christmas, whatever coming up. It's just one of those, everybody asks me, what are the apps that you use? What are the, so forth and so on. So, you guys want to know about this place?
Yeah.
Are you into football? You got a
Yeah.
Georgetown mask on.
Yeah.
Is that, or is that Georgia?
Georgia.
Okay, sorry. I'm not a football guy. I don't know. I had to memorize this because of the story. So, alright. So, let me wrap this up real quick and I'll tell you about this place. This place, how long have you lived here? 2011? Do you remember when this was Big John's? Big John's Tavern?
No.
Because it burned down in 2015 as Big John's. And then it's changed owners a couple of
really?
times. So,
Huh.
So Big John, he was a football player. He played for the New York Giants back in 1947. So we'll say about 74 years ago. A long time ago. But anyway, he used to sit in the back of the bar. It was his bar, he owned it. And the cadets would come over from the Citadel. So they would be done with training, Army, Navy, whoever's there. I'm pretty sure it's Navy. And they would come over and they would have a few drinks. One night, 2 guys came in. Big John knew that they weren't old enough to drink, so he told the bartender, get them out of here. They leave. They're pretty mad. They go drinking. They come back the next night and they try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's going on. They start fighting. It's a big bar fight. A couple of shots were fired, and John gets shot in the neck. The bullet ricocheted and landed in the wall. After John was done beating him up, he goes back to the bar. He tells the bartender to get him a beer and to get the 2 guys who just beat up an ambulance. Now, the funny thing about that story is nobody died, right? What's haunting the place? It's the bullet hole. It's still here. people that sit in front of the bar get a little nauseous, wheezy, a little dizzy. And again, this is the only spot that I've ever gotten EMF from the EMF meter. So I bring that story up on purpose because I don't know how paranormal activity is going to affect anybody. So if anybody feels any of those symptoms, please let me know. It's a big, big deal.
So it's right on the other side of this wall?
On the other side of this window.
Oh.
So let's get our minds off of our own health. And I just like to give that disclaimer out because this can happen.
Okay.
So big earthquake here in 1886. If you didn't know that, you knew now. And it's a big one for Charleston because we don't get earthquakes. So it was well over 140 some years ago. But apparently this is where the first death occurred. So a piece of the mantling that's above there, it actually wraps around the front of the building too, and a piece of that broke off from the earthquake and hit somebody in the head and killed them. The previous owner of this bar, it used to be called King, was Cane Rum Bar, I don't know what they're turning it into now. But he used to see little shadows out here on East Bay Street after closing. So again, we already had a little bit of EMF. Normally I don't get anything over here, so it's not often that I do. So it must be liking you, my man. I know you're coming. All right, so let's go learn some more about your devices. The first location we're going to go to is, it is haunted. It just doesn't have a long history. It's normally where I take people and give them a little bit more hands-on training with their tools. So you have to imagine I have 10 people with me and I'm moving around and getting everybody acclimated with their tools. So let's go over here and let's see what we can capture. What questions do we have so far?
Do I have to put the volume up on this or anything like that? Or
No, I'll kind of give you the cue.
Okay. See, if I had that and I saw something, I would jump and drop it. It's probably a good thing you got it.
So the cool thing about what you guys are doing tonight is that I don't work for a company.
Yeah.
This is just me. I have to play by the tourism rules applied.
Yeah.
At the same time, I kind of go against some of the things that the other tourism groups are doing. Like, I'm sure you guys have heard, the other groups where they have like 20 people in a group. I won't do it. I keep my groups at 10.
That's great.
So let's get into the light a little bit and kind of give you guys a gist of where we are.
Okay.
Because this is our location. You're going to find I love parking lots because it gives us space to explore. So this is the Red Barn lot. Have you guys ever been on a carriage ride?
Yeah.
Okay, so the horses you guys were pulled by are in that barn. So, well, maybe not the exact horses because they do rotate them out. They actually do a great job with that. So, that being said, those windows over there are open. So we are not going to be too loud with our spirit box or our speech. So let's talk about the spirit box for just a second. So this is not TV. This is not, is somebody here kind of mentality, because if somebody said no, doesn't that mean that somebody's here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to stay away from yes and no questions. So you're going to have to help come up with some of these questions. But this place, I'm going to kind of give you some suggestions, only just so you get acclimated of what it actually does.
This parking lot.
Okay.
Okay.
So keep in mind, the only history I have of this place is that this is the same Red Barn where we had horses that used to deliver milk to Charleston. So what does that mean? Yeah, it's kind of confusing, right? So back in the day, 1860s to 1920s, people had their milk and eggs delivered to their house daily. So just kind of like the mailman comes by, there was a milkman. So back in 1860s, before there were cars, they had to use a horse and carriage to be able to deliver that milk. So whenever I tell a story or a little bit of history, there's always going to be cue words. So obviously the key words here are milk, eggs, delivery, carriage, the horse, animal, those kind of things. But let's talk about something simple that you know the answer to. Just like your red mask, I usually tell people, let's ask what color the barn is. If somebody's here, tell us what color the barn is. You're going to wait about 30 seconds or so and listen. If you don't hear the color red, even in a song lyric like Rudolph, you're going to ask the same question again. So what they don't show you on TV is they're asking that question probably 10, 20, 30 times trying to get an answer. They cut off all that extra work because it's an hour show with commercials and this, that, and the other. They're also there for probably a good 2 weeks. They're telling you they're there in one night. That's not the case. They're there for about 2 weeks trying to gather as much evidence as they can, and when they get those 2, 3 little things that they can show you, that's what goes on the show. So here, you're only going to ask 2, 3, maybe 4 tries. If we still don't get an answer, the color red or something specifically red, like a cherry, last night's word was cherry. I caught that this morning. I'm like, oh, okay, a cherry is definitely red. But we're going to try something, say, okay, you don't want to answer that question? Tell me what's inside the barn. Now we know there's horses, there's animals, carriages, delivery, milk, CARSON, all those keywords I told you about. And I've had weird things like calcium and protein show up here. I didn't even know that eggs were along with that milk delivery thing. It was kind of a, all right, let me see what protein is. Oh, eggs are protein. That's a dairy product. Let me see if eggs were along with the milk. Yes, they were. So, again, I have to do research too. I don't know everything. So it's just, I learn stuff every single morning when I'm going through this stuff.
Wow.
So, your thermal imaging camera, we already kind of talked about having a person in view at all times, which you're doing great at. But I do want to show you a quick video before we fire up that spirit box and see what happens. Be interesting. So the video I'm going to show you was caught with that specific camera, and it's at our next location that we're going to, but it is the best evidence that I have from that camera, and it gives you a great gist of what to look for. Sorry, I gotta scroll through. I do a lot of social media. I gotta keep business rolling. Alright, so this orange that you see in the video, that's a wall. Okay, so you see the two orange heads above the wall that are moving?
Yeah.
Did you guys see that? Okay, so let's fast forward a little bit. You're gonna see two black heads going the opposite way here in just a second. When the camera goes still, it's right in this area right there. Boom. Boom.
Ooh.
So I've sent this over to mechanics and firemen and people that actually use that for their job, and they can't debunk it either. So they're like, Nick, that car, if it was a car, it was too far away. There's no way that it was a car. The temperature wouldn't be right, because they know the spectrum that it falls under with all the colors. So, but that's kind of what you're looking for when I say blue and black things moving on their own. That's really what we're looking for. And we didn't even catch that in real time. That was me catching it the next morning.
Because ghosts are cold?
Yes.
Okay.
So, little science project for you, just kind of give you the reason why ghosts are cold. When ghosts bring up energy to try to manifest themselves, it's going to be cold because they're drawing from a heat source. So the heat, temperature has to balance. You can't create heat. I just can't make it cold in front of you. So it has to balance. So if it's chilly here, it's probably warmer somewhere else. That's just the way the Earth works. So same thing in a smaller space like this. So at times, I'll catch thermodynamics in reverse, which means your camera is like maybe pointed at the ground, and the ground is heating up really, really fast. So like 5, 10, 15 degrees in like 5 seconds. That means a cold spot's being generated somewhere else. What people want to try to do is look for the cold spot. You're not going to find it, because it could be like dissipated around it, because it's only 1 degree colder here, 1 degree colder here, 1 degree colder there, but we got 10 degrees being generated here. That's still enough evidence that something is trying to manifest. Happens all the time. So I probably catch that, I'd say once every other month or so on the thermal camera. But that's just something if we do catch it. I'm not getting anything relevant yet. So I think we need to turn up that spirit box. What's our EMF doing? Oh, look at there.
Ooh.
I would still consider that a rhythm. But, oh, there it goes a little bit off. So, and all the devices in my bag are off, just so you know. So nothing is making it go off. There's no cell phone in there. But we are standing on top of a sewer line, which means there's nothing around us, electrical, anything, to be able to make this thing go off. So something is either trying to manifest or something around us. Something's hanging out. So hopefully we can get some answers. Mom, let's turn up that spirit box just a hair.
All right.
You can go a little bit louder. They can't hear us. There we go. I'll go ahead and start, just because I know asking a box question is kind of weird. So if there's somebody hanging out with us, I want you to tell us what color the barn is. And I swear that song was Red, Red Wine. That was just on. Yeah. The lyrics weren't there, but I know the melody. That was pretty nice. So I just heard auto pay. Doesn't mean anything, but that's what I'm listening for. Tell us what color the barn is. Something there, I missed it. Names or relationships?
We play it.
Spots and broken capillaries.
Capillaries, it's blood. Blood's red.
Yep.
That's a stretch.
It is a stretch, but... Alright, let's try to get something a little bit more concrete. So, if somebody's actually here and you played with Big John, tell us what your jersey number was. Numbers don't lie. So, also keep in mind, I don't get excited over one device going off. So, even if you get, hey, 20, that was Big John's college number. So,
Yeah.
But until I have this going off too, or maybe the name John coming up somewhere.
The process of healing.
Are you watching on that too?
Yeah.
Team.
Yep.
Grateful Dead. That's creepy.
I heard Goo Goo Dolls too.
Too.
Give us your jersey number and maybe your first name. And a lot of times I have a jersey number that matches a name that came up in the same way. And they're not like John 20. It's like Skip 87. Do you know what I mean? Like it's stuff like that. Like you can't make that stuff up. What do you want to know? Nothing? Come on, dude. This is all about you. You're the one that's into this. Got the word known. If you played with Big John on the Giants football team, tell us your jersey number.
Production is one of the critical elements.
Just need a number.
Atrial fibrillation.
Human something.
Human program.
Very. John, give me your college number. What was your jersey for college? What was that number? So I will always try to tie something to what's coming up, but again, 80% of it's nothing. But there are words that come up, I'm like, I've never seen that word come through there. I'm gonna look it up. I might need a definition.
Right.
It's
You never
like,
know.
That's a weird word to come up.
That's about half the time before
Harsh, what should we ask?
I don't know.
What is still inside the wall of Big John's bar?
There you go. Something atmosphere.
Fun.
So one of the funny things about Big John's Tavern is there were bras hanging from the ceiling all over the place. Like that was a
Really?
signature thing for them. You mentioned Big John's Tavern to somebody who remembers it. Yeah, there were bras hanging everywhere. That's the first thing they mentioned. So I'm also listening for like lingerie.
Bra, yeah.
Says that she's doing
we have a gist of how the tools work? Do we want to
Yeah.
learn some real history?
Yeah.
Alright, we can go ahead and turn that down. This is what you guys were hoping for. Cool. Alright, so I'm actually going to pull out the lasers real quick. Just
What are you seeing up there?
Just a bunch of stuff.
Again, it's not the most exciting thing to capture, but it is great evidence to have when you do have it because it's most convincing.
Yeah.
So lasers get Nick in a lot of trouble. Because my lasers aren't your typical cat lasers. The little red dots.
Yeah.
So
They're
these,
probably much stronger.
yes, they will actually set off a car alarm.
What? Oh.
We're gonna give it a minute. That guy's a jerk. He parks there every night.
I mean, he's driving like a man.
Yeah, there's only one way in and out of there too. So I always tell my folks, let's not make ghosts tonight.
Right.
So
right.
this guy,
Whoa.
he's
Oh,
getting Nick in a
wow.
lot of trouble. So you can see obviously the green dots on the ground. So really what we're looking for, like this is teamed up with the person with the camera because I want them taking pictures through it because you can't see the lasers until something passes through it. So I have this one, and then the other one that I use is, it actually takes it a step further. So this guy gives us red squares. So when something passes through it and we capture it on a picture or film, then I can put that picture inside 3D software and we'll have a full 3D view of the thing that we caught. So again, the lasers usually go to one person, that way I can keep an eye on them. And then their accompaniment is a camera, because they're literally walking around with a camera like this, shooting through the lasers. I don't want them down. And I catch stuff with this all the time too. Like these are actually hard to find these days. I don't know why. It's such a simple, cheap thing. Like I think I paid like $10 for it. And
Why do they set up car alarms?
because it's the motion. So it's the motion of it. You can't keep these things held still. I mean, even when you look at the pictures, watching it, like even when you set up I'm going through the pictures, it's all squiggly lines. So I look for the one squiggle or something floating.
Yeah.
That's going the opposite direction or doesn't look like the other squiggles.
Yeah.
I pull circles that don't make any sense, like circle within a circle on the red one. That's super cool to see. And it's not like something hangs out and it's like, hi, I'm right here.
Yeah.
You know, it's super quick. You know, and it's like you can debunk a bug pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You know, if it's just a bug flying through, but when I caught a big one the other night. It actually took a lot of space. Coming back.
Oh, it sounds like it.
Right? So we're going to stay back here, just for the time being. So this is home to Eliza and Charles Pinckney's mansion. So
Parking lot?
that's parking lot. This used to be Molly Darcy's back in the day.
Oh yeah.
So what was before here was a very prominent home in Charleston. So, and it actually ties to a lot of our history. So with that said, Eliza, we're going to be quick on the political stuff because I know it's boring. So Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles and they had a nephew named Charles. So there's three of them. The son and the nephew were signers of our Constitution. So when you hear the name Pinckney in class, you'll be able to recognize it. Not to mention, we started on the corner of Pinckney and East Bay Street. So Pinckney name is all over. I like to talk about Eliza because she's way cooler. Not to mention it's Women's History Month.
Right,
So if you
right.
didn't know that. I actually have an ad going out right now about Women's History Month, and I'm not getting a big response from it. I'm surprised. Because I do talk about a lot of females in Charleston.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Eliza, she was very young when she married Charles. There's a big age gap between them. Her dad thought he was dying. He lived in England. By the way, this is where the video was that I showed you. It was up in that corner, up where that lamppost is.
Okay.
This is my most active spot. If I were to have a grand finale, this would be it. Wow. So hopefully we capture lots of stuff. But anyway, she married Charles at a young age because Dad was dying, and she didn't want to go home. She didn't believe that he was dying, so she got married and stayed here. She was right. Dad didn't die. And then Dad started sending gifts over from England. So Eliza was a botanist. Do you know what a botanist is?
Flower person.
Right, plants. So any kind of experimentation with plants, especially back in colonial times, this was a big deal. One of those plants happened to be indigo. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes your blue jeans blue. You're wearing it right now. We still use it. That's how we use it today. It does a lot of other stuff, but that's the primary reason. So Eliza's garden was right here. This is where she experimented with it. And the cool thing about that is our rice plantations that we have all over town, they were starting to go downhill. so the price of it was going down. We needed another cash crop to be able to save Charleston. So what did Eliza do? She moved it to Sneed Farm in Mount Pleasant. And if you go there, you can learn a lot about Charles Pinckney. There's a lot of artifacts and stuff there. But they moved it over there, and then she used Dad's contacts to be able to sell the indigo overseas. So now that she not only saved Charleston, but she saved all 13 colonies with one cash crop.
Wow.
Huge. The interesting thing is the reason she was able to do that in our weird temperatures, as you can now feel, it's not very good gardening weather.
Yeah.
She had slaves that already knew how to do that. They were part of the Gullah culture. So with that said, they already knew how to keep it going. So she learned from her slaves on how to keep this cash crop going, and then put them out there on the farm to continue the process. So, weird facts about Eliza that you're going to ask on a spirit box, you included. So, Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles, back to back. Okay?
Wow.
Yeah. Charles really screwed that one.
Like the Eliza. Huh.
So, they both go by their maiden name. That's the name they had before they were married to Charles. So they go by Eliza blank Pinckney. So it's not their middle name. Kids always get that confused, but maiden name. So you guys are going to ask what the maiden name was. They both start with L. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Eliza's wasn't Pinckney?
It was Eliza blank Pinckney. Pinckney was her married name.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So we need to find out what her maiden name was before she got married.
Okay.
Let's see. You can ask anything you want to about Eliza's death. How old she was. Where did she die? What did she die from? Where is she buried? And which U.S. president was a pallbearer at her funeral? Do you know what that means? Pallbearer? So the people that will carry a casket before they put the casket into the ground, the people that carry it are called pallbearers. So she had a president carry her to her grave.
Wow.
So,
wow.
yeah, that tells you how important she was. That's a big question. You can ask how many kids did she have. That's all I'm going to tell you to, or hopefully you'll ask about the kids. There's a tragedy there, so if you start poking the bear, it stops. Like, all activity will stop. Speaking of, we haven't even looked at our EMF yet. Oh, nice. We're going crazy. Good. So Eliza's probably hanging out. Last night Charles decided he wanted to come through. And Charles always just gives me weird little facts about him. What political party he was from, when he died, the month that he was born. You know, weird little things. And my skeptics, I usually pull them aside and I pull out that spirit box. I'm like, all right, Charles, if you're here, put your name on the box I'm holding. Charles, I can probably do that 4 or 5 times a year.
That's crazy.
And it scares the hell out of me. I mean, it really gets them going. So I love to prove the skeptics wrong. I stopped asking where my skeptics were, by the way. Like, it just puts a whole different mindset on the whole tour.
Yeah,
so if I know somebody's a negative Nancy, that just dampens the whole tour. It really does. So for the past month or so, I just stopped asking. This is an interesting lot. We get a ton of activity here. I will say, like, we're going to stick together. Kind of give you.
Can we ask what happened? So there used to be a house here?
Yeah, and I usually say you can ask what happened to the house.
Okay.
And that's part of your history class you're about to go through too. The mansion was in the front facing East Bay Street. The front of it was. So it wasn't one of the side houses like you normally would see in the neighborhoods.
Okay.
Eliza's garden, as I said, was over here by that tree and then came all the way across. And then we are standing where the slave and servant quarters would have been. So I don't have anything to prove about slaves and servants. You can imagine with the diversity that I get on these tours, people always want to ask. I'm like, I can't prove it, so ask away if you want to, but you're wasting my time.
Who knows if it's true?
I'm not saying it's a waste of time to try to learn something, but I don't have documentation to prove it.
Right.
So you have to, like, all of the links you're going to get are very, like, they're Charleston links. So it's from the local libraries,
Very
the
true,
historical societies, Britannica.com or .org, whatever it is. But yeah, that's the kind of links you're going to get. So, what question do you want to start off with? What sounded the coolest question?
Let me turn it up.
And I don't care if you want to ask what her favorite color was, because it wasn't blue like indigo. Like, people ask that too. And I always get the same answer.
Ask it.
What was your maiden name?
There you go. You're a smart kid, huh? Straight A student, ain't that?
You see anything on there?
And you can pan it a little bit just so we get a gist of the parking lot. There's a name I don't think I see very often. Ella? I don't have any reference.
That's interesting.
Yeah, definitely for the time period. Yeah, talking 1750s. tell us what your maiden name was? This is Carson. He wants to know. And we might not get a direct answer, but we might get a term or phrase that's relevant to something else. And again, there was a lot of Pinckneys. So sometimes I get one of the kids that creeps through. Charles will like to show up. I've had to learn about some of the battles that the kids went through, like literal battles, because the name showed up, and I'm like, I have no idea, guys. I'm sorry. The next morning, I'm like, dude, oh my god. I get dates all the time.
Wow.
Eliza, tell us what your maiden name was. Sometimes it hurts. Is that what I heard? Okay. Eliza, do you want to maybe tell us what happened to the mansion? I know you've told me dozens of times. We have a little bit more leniency here. You can probably turn it up a little bit. We're not bugging any ponies.
Starts at just 300.
If you hear something, just shout it out. I'm used to listening to this.
Are you watching the camera?
Eliza, what happened to the house that was here?
So right now, if you have a deep...
Alright, Eliza, you can answer that one if you want to. Let's ask another question. What do we got?
Eliza, how many children did you have?
Move a little closer to the house, maybe. They've never done an archaeological dig here either. They've just laid whatever building platform, and they won't do it.
Why?
Too much money. The problem with it is that it costs a few million to get something like that excavated. So the goal for Stories in the Cemetery is for us to have a store where I sell ghost hunting equipment and books about the paranormal. I also have a haunted hotel upstairs.
Ooh.
So, of course, I'll charge $500 a night.
Of course.
Everybody gets a kit, whatever. But I had this genius idea last month. I told my wife, I was like, what if we bought the Pinckney mansion site and recreated her house?
Sounds cute.
And that was, yeah. The problem with that is the floor plans are kind of guarded by the city of Charleston.
Yeah.
There's a description, but there's no actual even picture of the house until after it was destroyed.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's really no way to, we would have to do our best with architects and things like
Did
that.
you say 5 little girls? Did you hear that?
No.
No?
but none of that is correct.
Okay, I know. Something little girls, I don't know.
Pack is brought to you by
Yeah, we figured probably a good 10 million to get everything done. You know, to have it, because we would want the archaeological dig. We would pay for it, and then keep
Yeah.
the artifacts inside the mansion.
Yeah,
for it.
yeah. Jeez, geez now.
Yeah, 10 million. We can pull it off.
Minor detail.
Business loan.
Oh yeah.
And you know how many people are interested in this site about saving it from a commercial hotel? Like a
true.
Holiday Inn coming here or something stupid?
That's true, yeah.
Like, I can get backers and crowdfund a good part of it.
It's probably true. I hadn't thought about that, yeah.
I'd say I could probably crowdfund at least 2 to 3 million of it. And then
Definitely
get the
the
archaeologists. We have archaeologists that live in town. Like,
Oh, wow.
there's dozens of them. Like, they just go all over the world. They live here because it's gorgeous. But I could probably get them to come and work here for 3 or 4 months
Yeah,
with no pay
yeah.
because
They'd
of the
just be
site.
so interested, yeah.
Right.
Do you have another question you want to ask her?
No.
Mom told me you were really into this, man. I expected a lot.
What?
He's like,
It's a little creepy, but when you do find something, it's exciting.
5.
We
I
got
heard
one number.
5.
1, 4.
4.
4.
The weird thing about that question is because that'll tell me what kind of mood she's in. There was a tragedy in one of the children. They died at infancy. So sometimes it's a 3,
Oh.
and other days it's a 4. That's why I say we don't normally ask about the kids.
Oh.
I don't set people off to go start asking about the kids just
Yeah.
because you start poking around about that
It could
infant
be-
and everything shuts down. Like it's just like she's like, nope, I'm gonna shut it down. We're done.
Uh-oh. Maybe that is-
All right, Eliza, let's ask. I'm not getting much, so I'm gonna try to.
Okay.
Get this. Eliza, let's try one more question before we take off. Can you tell us which president took you to your grave? I know you like to brag about that. Even the first name would work.
An additional expense.
An additional expense. We're talking about building your house, Eliza. What's funny is that would probably make it less than 4,000 square feet. Just for, you know, cost purposes. Like I would
Yeah.
make it a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a 5-year goal. Build the Pinckney
goal.
mansion.
Yeah.
Thought I heard idiots.
Ingredients.
Oh, is that what it was? You heard it too. That's why you're laughing.
Understand. Thermostat.
Eliza, which president took you to your grave? Wow, look at how low those planes are. What is going on? That doesn't look good, does it? Here, another one. That's a perfect interval, too. There's perfect space between them. That's crazy.
I've never seen anything like that.
And I live near the airport.
Huh. Really weird.
That is really
Eliza.
Alright, let's give you guys some answers. Let's go ahead and cut that off. It'll still record. So it was George Washington.
It was.
It was. George Washington obviously spent a lot of time in Charleston. You have to remember there was only 13 governors.
Yeah.
He knew his governors pretty well. Charles Pinckney happened to be one of those governors. So he knew Eliza, he knew of her work, and he knew what she did for the colony. So it
So
was,
how did the mansion burn? Did it burn down
Yeah.
or what?
It was the Great Fire of 1861. It would have been
Oh,
long
wow.
after Eliza's death in 1793, so we're talking almost 70 years. But yeah, it actually took out from pretty much from peninsula end to peninsula end. So you can imagine it was right in the middle of its path. So a lot of times I'll get the number 61, which makes sense because it's the Great Fire of 1861. I'll get burning, candle, smoke, anything related to fire. So if somebody asks that. Let's see. We already told you Eliza had 4 kids, 1 daughter out of those 4 kids, and she used to write letters back and forth to her because she married in Ori, which is Myrtle Beach. So, so she lived up in the Georgetown, Myrtle Beach area, like very close to like Pawleys Island kind of area. So they used to write letters because they couldn't just get in a car and go. It was pretty far travel. So I'll get things like pen and letter and her daughter's name, even though it's spelled incorrectly. It's still like you don't hear the name Harriet too often. So why would I get it on any kind of spirit box?
Right.
Let's see what.
How did the infant die?
I don't know. I don't even know if the infant was days old or weeks old because their birth month and death month are the same. So I don't even know if it was literally like stillborn. I don't know. But they did name, the funny ironic thing is that they named the baby George after her father. So when I get just George, I don't know who she's referring to, Dad, baby, or Washington. So,
oh, wow.
So I actually learned that George Washington bit from 2 EVPs I got from the spirit box the same week. And it wasn't just George or Washington, it was George Washington.
Oh, wow.
Like, same week. So I was like, there's got to be a reference here. So I look it up, I'm like,
Crazy.
holy crap, how do I miss these little fun facts?
That is crazy.
Yeah, cool stuff though, but I don't know, I got the word friendly. I think I covered all of the bases. Charles was a Republican, sometimes that comes through. And what's ironic about him is if I'm in this lot and I get the word October, I get it twice because he was born in October and died in October. So,
wow.
Yeah, so I get all kinds of weird stuff. Where
Weird,
are we going?
Relevant.
Yeah, and it's all relevant.
That's crazy.
Eliza was, we didn't talk about that. It says chat. Eliza was 70 when she died. And she was actually in Philadelphia for breast cancer treatment. From what we know of. We're talking colonial times, so breast cancer at the time, you can't really diagnose it.
Right.
Looking at, those kind of documents. But the word cancer came up the other night. I get that all the time. But that's where she died, and that's also where she's buried. So if that tells you...
She was buried up there? That's interesting.
And we get her ghost here.
Yeah,
so the question now is, Stories in a Cemetery doesn't take you to cemeteries because you're not going to be at your grave when you're dead. You're going to go to the places that you love.
Right.
So I kind of make that point with this location. So we're going to go up to Lodge Alley from here.
Okay.
It's about 4 blocks away. EMF's going to go crazy. Just keep holding the phone the way you are. You're doing a good job. Kind of keeping everybody in view.
You want to trade? Ooh, good.
Look at him. Hasn't spoken yet. But he's going to nod that head as soon as you say let's trade.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that. It says so-called.
It says what?
So-called. We were just talking about how the breast cancer can't really be
it
diagnosed.
couldn't have been diagnosed back then.
So it's kind of a stretch. It's not something I can prove, but it goes right toward conversation.
Wow.
But Lodge Alley, it's a weird place. With a small group, I can tell you the history as we walk through it. You guys, I always take my tours through cobblestone street, which is Lodge Alley.
Yeah.
And it kind of gives you a little bit more about the layout of the land back when this was Charlestown, back in the early 1700s, and explains a lot of the stories later on. So that's kind of like why we go there. If you want to listen to that along the way, just put it up to your ear. It's up to you if you want to. I'm listening for names when I'm listening in the morning for this timepiece because there's names up there in Lodge Alley that like to come through, and I'm not going to tell you what they are because that'll put a suggestive thought in your head. Is that word unknown again? Usually when something pops up twice, it usually means something. So
unknown.
Oh, and sea. We're going to be talking about the sea later on.
Crazy.
It is crazy. So. Pretty cool stuff, huh? Wouldn't you like to do this every day?
Yeah.
You kind of nodded over.
You were like, I don't know. Here, you go up with him. I'm going to look for extra.
Just watching stuff. This is like perfect weather, by the way.
For ghosts?
For what I do. I gotta carry a heavy bag.
Oh, true.
I have a hard time with the masks. Like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to the summer of this mask man.
Oh, God, that'll be awful.
Well, I can't tell you how many tours I had to cancel.
Because it was too hot. Oh,
too
really?
Hot. Too hot. I mean, I was poisoned 3 times last summer. But I had sun poisoning, poison oak, and then I got stomach poisoning. All back to back to back. Like craziness. You want to talk about a
That
bad
could be a
summer?
sign.
It was nuts. I was out, and of course we couldn't tour during when the peak hit.
Yeah.
So. We couldn't tour, and then I canceled probably 5 weeks worth of tours. Because I
Wow.
was sick.
That sucks.
And, you know, the stomach poisoning, they didn't know if it was COVID. So, of course, I'm getting tested, and it's like, I can't put my people at risk.
Right, right.
Getting refunds left and right. It was bad.
Oh, that blows.
I've probably lost $5,000.
Dang. Stinks.
Very good. So when you look inside this restaurant, the far wall actually has painting of George Washington in it because he spent so much time here.
Oh, really?
There's a painting of Washington up here.
Oh, that's
Because of all
cool.
the time he spent there.
I didn't know he spent that much time here, truthfully. Oh, wow.
There's a whole big thing on his visit here. We did one big, I think it was like a 10 to 12 day visit
Yeah.
of all the different parts of Charleston.
Hmm.
And a lot of that was with the Pinckneys. The Pinckneys pretty much posted
did not know
every
that.
morning.
That's really awesome.
Yeah. He really came loaded, huh?
Yep, we were ready.
As bad as me. Where did you guys end up parking at?
At the Harris Teeter. But we went
Oh, wow.
in and got some gum, so we shopped there, quote unquote.
Gotcha. So we're going to end on Cumberland Street. I'll try to give you guys a direction on how to get back from East Bay if you're not familiar.
Oh, no, we're fine, yeah. My girlfriend actually lives in the, you know, the Jacob Rab house off Pinckney?
Yeah.
That's her house. So I could have actually just parked there, but we didn't even think about it. But yeah, so we're in this area a bunch.
I have a garage on Cumberland right where we
Oh,
are.
nice.
So after they didn't, like, I got tired of fighting for parking spaces. So
Yeah. So you can just rent a garage?
yeah,
That's cool.
and I found a cheap one.
Nice.
Like, way cheaper than parking meters.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, it's like $50 a month. That's it.
Cool.
And it's only on specific times. It's after 5 p.m. during the week, and then any time during Saturday, Sunday. So if me and the wife want to come down and go do whatever,
Yeah.
I gotta pay for it.
Totally worth it.
Yeah.
Huh.
And I write it off.
Of course you should.
I'm not even paying for it. You just gotta pay for it up front.
Yeah.
I write everything off.
Oh yeah, that's the way to go.
I just got a phone call last week from the punk festival coming in, like a punk flea market type thing. They got wind of me on social media somehow, and they're like, yeah, we think you're gonna have a line.
Really? That's awesome.
And that's actually Mount Pleasant. It's at the Omar Shrine, Patriots Point.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, that's not far from us.
they told us we're gonna make it right down here. Which is good, right?
I love this alley.
So do you know anything about this alley?
No.
Alright, so first off, this is where some of the Masons used to meet before people used to live here. So these two
Oh,
buildings
really?
weren't here. They had little shotgun houses. You know what a shotgun house is? So a shotgun house is where you can shoot a gun through the front and a bullet goes straight out the back. It's that small. So it's not very big at all. So I have the full list of residents of every person that's ever lived here and their occupation.
Wow.
So that started in 1790, 1791, I believe, and then ended around 1895. So it's not a big list of residents, but
Yeah.
I want you to also keep in mind that the city of Charleston, the peninsula, all the buildings that are around the edges weren't there. So that smell of low tide, be coming through here quite a bit. They did do an archaeological dig on these clay bricks. They found some of their tools and silverware,
Oh,
clothing
really?
pieces, yeah. So that's where I got all my information from. It's like a 125-page report. I read through it pretty thoroughly. Lots of fires down here. This is obviously Magnolia's restaurant.
Obviously.
And then this is Lodge Alley Inn, obviously named after the alley. You're now inside the original Charlestown walls. So when we crossed Cumberland Street, that was where the Charlestown Wall was. okay?
Right.
So now this is one of the first streets we actually have.
Wow.
So this is considered a quiet area, so when I have my groups of 10, I can stop pretty close to here. I tell a quick history like what I just told you, and we move on. So it's just kind of I want to give you a gist of like where you're at. But yeah,
Wow.
it's gorgeous. Not to mention if you are a picture
Gorgeous.
taker, on the right hand side you get a great shot of St. Philip's steeple.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So a lot of people like to stop there, take a picture. What I will tell you is once we exit this alley, we're going to be in a neighborhood. So tour guides aren't allowed to be tour guides in neighborhoods. We're allowed to pass through.
Okay.
They used to take people to Philadelphia Alley. Are you familiar with that one?
I don't think
That's the
so.
duel. I think I'll give you that story once we pass it. We're not allowed to go through it anymore.
Oh really?
But when you guys are out down here all the time, you can walk through it and you'll know the story already.
Huh.
If you don't, you'll have the recording and the person
Well,
will
no.
recite it back to you.
Are you hearing anything on your spirit box?
Well, when I hold it up to my ear, it's really loud.
Are you
Really?
hearing anything?
Sign.
I'm hearing noise.
Any words that you can make
Yeah.
out?
But not any, like, names or anything.
It's okay. Sometimes it's about something else that I have to dive into. That might be in that big giant report. I just get excited because names are easy. Numbers don't lie, and names are easy. So if I get a name and a number, I gotta relate it somehow. So, shortcut when you guys are down here, that's Philadelphia Alley, but we're literally gonna go to the other side of it.
Okay.
And I'll show you some weird, cool stuff about that.
Okay.
Every hotel down here has a history of a ghost. None of them give me free
Everyone?
rooms. Pretty much.
Really?
There's probably 20 hotels with a ghost story and a specific room.
In
None
a
of-
specific room?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So this summer, hopefully, after I get the podcast episodes done that I need to, because I have files sitting on my desk I haven't gone through yet, like Gettysburg. You would think I'd be excited about that, but no time. But I'll have to start renting out these specific rooms and doing
Oh, that'll be cool.
new podcast episodes. But I'm a college kid too. Like I'm almost done with my master's, so it's kind of a.
You got a lot going on.
I do. Still thinking about going in for my PhD.
That's a lot.
Yeah, my kids are older than yours. Way older.
Schooling is so fun.
Yeah, almost done. with this
Congrats on
master's
being
degree.
almost done.
Yeah, and everything is wrapped around what I do here.
That's
It's
awesome.
a master's in creative writing. So I already have 2 bachelor degrees, and the PhD will be, I'll be studying the paranormal and the equipment and why it's relevant. So
Wow.
I'll be a doctor of ghosts when I'm done.
That's pretty cool.
It's a lot of work.
I'm
A
sure.
lot of residencies, a lot of traveling.
Where would you go for residency? Like where?
The residencies are in Philadelphia, in that area, and that's twice a year, and it's a 4-year program.
Oh, wow.
And I would probably have to travel abroad just because of the mentors that they would have to find for me for that specific degree. That's Philadelphia Alley. You can see nobody's down there.
That is super pretty though.
It's the prettiest place we have in all of Charleston.
Really?
Yes, day or night. So let's go hear that story.
Cumberland and Philadelphia. We'll have to come down here, okay?
This is Cumberland, and you'll recognize, like, we got the Powder magazine up here.
Uh-huh.
Like, we're getting into the legends and lore portion. So if we hear stuff, great, we can prove it. But again, it's lore. It's normal Charleston stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, Pinckney Mansion site, nobody explores that but me. And
Yeah.
my teams. The Big John's Tavern, nobody's exploring that but me.
Yeah.
There's stuff up here. Oh, it's workout detector. Were you here when this was Bocce's?
I don't know.
So Tommy Condon's is right over here too.
Yeah.
So you should kind of give you just where you're
I
at.
know where Tommy Condon's is. I feel like I know where we are now. Yeah.
Yeah, because the market is that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's Sunday night. It's pretty much got the whole thing.
I know. It's dead though.
Well, I usually have my competition out here since our groups of 20. But on certain weekdays and Sunday nights, it feels like I'm the only guy working. It's great.
Oh. So they don't work on Sundays?
They do. And
Oh.
you'll see some groups, like, they're already taking a spot, which is fine.
Oh, that's another one?
Yeah, so that's another group. I always stay out of the other group's way.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really care for me too
Respectfully.
much. They go business, they're large groups. Like, they're starting to understand what I do. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to point out that's Dueler's Alley from the other side. Okay, so I showed you where the gate was coming in out of Lodge Alley.
Oh, yeah.
So you guys see the doorway back there?
Yes.
Okay, so that's where duels used to occur. Okay, so literally take 20 paces, turn and shoot kind of duels. So if there was a loser, which means he's what?
Dead.
He's dead. There's a cemetery right here. They would come through that doorway that you see, over this courtyard and over to the cemetery and drop the body and then go celebrate the winner. Now the story that's down there is the story of the doctor that moved into town. So his name was Joseph Brown Ladd, and he moved down here because his fiancee Amanda just inherited a bunch of money, and the attorney thought that he was just after her money. So he told Amanda to send the doctor away. This was up in Virginia. No, Jersey, sorry. So Jersey, he moves down here, and the coachman, like the horse and buggy that brings him into town, sets him up to be robbed and killed. Not a very good start.
Wow.
So somebody walking by, his name was Ralph Isaacs, he was an attorney, a lawyer here in town. He sees what's happening, and he saves the doctor, and he says, let me take you somewhere else. So he takes him to 59 Church Street, which is about a mile down that way. So here comes another giant group. And they're probably going to come right up here, too. Funny. And nobody tells the doctor's story anymore, which is sad, because it's a great story. So anyway, the two become friends. Oh, that guy's cool. That's the umbrella guy. I just feel bad because he works for a company, and that's what they do to him. And I'll be honest, he's not making the money that I do.
Yeah.
It's just sad. Because he could be doing so much more. Apparently he's been doing it like 30 years, from what I understand. Somebody told me that before. But anyway, back to the doctor. So him and Ralph are friends now, and the doctor becomes known as the Whistling Doctor because Amanda's coming down to town soon. He's proving he's not just after her own money because he's doing pretty well, and everybody knows him. So him and Ralph used to go see plays all the time. It's kind of like going to see the movies. But if you made more money than your friend, that means you got better seats, and he wasn't allowed to sit with you. So that's kind of what happened with him and Ralph. Ralph was just a regular attorney. He didn't make a whole lot of money, but the doctor always got better seats. So they talked about these plays on the way home. So one night they're talking about a Shakespeare play, and the doctor likes the new actress that's in town, and Ralph doesn't. They start arguing. Then it turns that Ralph starts insulting the fiancée, Amanda, back home. And they obviously get very mad at each other, and they go their separate ways. But Ralph is from here, so he calls the newspaper. And he tells the newspaper to put an ad in the paper about what a disgrace that the doctor is to the city of Charleston. The doctor sees it, and his answer to that is, let's go to Dueler's Alley, and let's settle this. Now, I just told you, oh, perfect timing. You guys know you're in Charleston now.
Wow.
So, you come down here, and a duel normally, they would shoot the gun in the air, just to prove a point. That's exactly what happened with them. They took 20 paces, the doctor pointed his gun in the air, and he shot. He didn't want to kill his friend, right? He just wanted to prove points. Don't insult my girlfriend.
Right.
Instead, Ralph puts his gun against the doctor, shoots him in the kneecap. He only has one bullet. Now remember, they didn't have guns like we have now. They shot his one shot in the doctor's knee. So instead of coming through that gate, his friends picked him up and they carried him home over to 59 Church Street, and he died 10 days later. Now, the moral of the story is, don't get engaged to Amanda. You'll die. It's a joke. But they say as you walk through the alley, you can hear his whistling. Or gunshots.
Is that Philadelphia Alley?
That's Philadelphia Alley now. Now we named it Philadelphia Alley because once dueling became illegal and stupid, they had to name it after a city that saved Charleston through one of our many, many fires. Philadelphia was one of those things, one of those cities. So that's why it's called Philadelphia Alley now. Philadelphia
is so funny.
Yeah, it brings up a lot. That's where Eliza Pinckney's buried.
Yeah.
We got Philadelphia Alley, so it's very easy to remember. But yeah, that's the story over there. It's kind of a bonus story that I don't always tell anymore because of time restraint or big groups.
Right.
But hopefully we got some things wrapped around the doctor. I always get words wrapped around the doctor when I'm telling that story.
Oh,
so
really?
Like doctrine, Amanda will come up. Like all kinds of stuff will come up. So let me see what's on my list. And
What about all the men that lost the duels that were taken over to the cemetery? Do they all have tombstones?
I don't know. I've never visited this side.
Yeah.
So there's two different sides. And the reason for that is because the side that we're standing on is actually meant for native Charlestonians only. So you had to have been born here in order to be buried on this side. Okay, so Calhoun is buried on the western side because he's not from here. But they had to move him several times because they weren't sure. So when they were finally sure, he's in a
Oh, wow.
carsophagus. Do you know what that is?
Big, like, that's what they bury
Almost like a
mummies in.
room, right?
It's like a giant cement coffin above ground. That's the easiest way to explain it, which means they can basically pick it up like a pallbearer and they can move them however they want to. And they moved them a couple of times. Fortunately, they haven't damaged the carsophagus at all. So I have been through tombs. We have some tombs here in town. There's one down in the John's Island. It's the tomb. Oh my God, what was her name? I did a whole thing on her and tons of evidence.
It's the, well, there's one off Edisto.
Edisto, that's
Yes,
the one I did.
Legate.
Yeah, Julia Legree.
Legree.
Yeah, so I did her tomb. And I went in
We
it.
tried to visit there, but they were closed for COVID. Or not closed, but like people weren't going, and like Botany Bay was closed, so we were
wow.
like, let's just not go.
Yeah, you can go right in the tomb. It
You
is so
can?
cool. Oh yeah.
Wait, is that the one Meredith was telling us about?
Yeah, where she like apparently the legend is that like she was kind of she wasn't really dead when she was buried, and they think that she
Tried to claw her way out.
tried to claw her way out.
So there's a lot going on there, and the age bracket isn't really true. So like there was a lot of history. Like I actually wrote a piece on it.
I saw that you had been there, and I was like, oh, we want to go there.
Yeah, so it is really cool. I haven't taken some of my newer gadgets there. And again, all those investigations you guys see, there's only a couple places that have had my newer stuff, like the spirit box you have and the film that we're using. And I will tell you my most interesting case, and you might, because you were alive during this, was not the 9/11 memorial up in Shanksville. So, like, I went up there
Shanksville,
with Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Okay.
So the fourth plane that crashed,
Oh,
the last one,
United.
93.
Oh.
So that was my longest episode for a podcast because there was that much evidence there, and I did that much research, and I went in blind, not knowing any details. So when I do an investigation, and I'm at a location that's like a memorial site or even a museum here, so that's usually hanging out of this pocket, right? And I just have the little camera hanging out so nobody knows what I'm doing. If it's summertime, it's in my cargo pocket, so it's just hanging above the top. Your spirit box is on mute in my pocket. The EMF's in my other pocket, and like my phone will usually be running with what it does, what I'm doing tonight. So that's how I go in, and I'm taking pictures of all the panels, and I'm looking at all the different things, and I visit it just like you guys. Just so nobody knows what I'm doing. So I'm just geared up. Not to mention I'm recording the entire thing, especially if I take a tour. I want to know all the details that they're giving me, so that way I can listen to it and all kinds of things. So pretty cool. It's an interesting life. But yeah, that 9/11, holy cow.
I took him, we were in New York last year. I took him to the 9/11 memorial there, and he kept being like, there were buildings here? I was like, you have no idea.
Yeah.
It was insane.
It was insane.
Crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, all of that stuff will make sense. I mean, I have recordings that are in
we'll
the
have to watch
podcast
that.
about, like, from...
When did that stop?
I don't know.
I didn't do it.
That's why I look. All right, let's go try.
Man. Good thing I didn't see any apparitions while I wasn't filming. I think it was the ghost that stopped it.
And by the way, St. Philip's, our tallest steeple, is slightly off from our 1886 earthquake. You can't see it, but if you measure by the angle, it's a little bit off. And the reason why I asked you about Bocce's is because it's haunted too. Nobody's in there. That would be a great place for Stories in a Cemetery shop, because there's 4 apartments upstairs that are like 3-bedroom apartments.
And it's all vacant?
It's all vacant. I think Tommy Condon's is using it as a storage unit right now, but it was sold back to the city because it's too haunted. Doors don't stay shut in there, mirrors fall off the wall and don't break. Like it's pretty
Nobody wants to live there. I sure as shit wouldn't.
Come in here, guys. Sorry, you're gonna have the noise from that truck on your audio. I try to stay away from super loud stuff. So now we're on the other side of the cemetery, and right past that where I showed you where the orange light was, that's called the Pirate House. So this is another legend. I don't really have a whole lot of proof, but it is fun to tell because it kind of introduces us to the next story. So the Pirate House is where the pirates from Blackbeard would come in, and they would party up with a few girls and a few drinks, and then they dug a tunnel from the Pirate House over to Dock Street Theater. There was a tunnel under there. They just filled it in back in the 1990s, so that's real too. There was rumor that Blackbeard buried his treasure there, but we all know that's in North Carolina. It's probably not there. So there's a...
So pretty.
I try to keep everything PG.
Oh, doesn't matter, but go ahead.
Prostitution,
You can talk about prostitution.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, there was a young lady that worked at this church. Her name was Nettie Dickerson. Nobody wanted to marry her because she was too old. You want to guess how old she was?
Probably younger than your mother.
She was 23.
Right around your mom's age. Yep, yep.
We won't say how old I am either. So we won't go there. Because I am way older than people usually assume.
I'll agree.
I have a daughter that's going to turn 21 this year.
So you were like 2
No.
when you had her. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know, right? So, anyway, she worked here at the church because she couldn't get married, so she had to fend for herself. So, during the time of Dock Street Theater, when it was a hotel, there was some prostitution. She's seen how happy the girls that worked there were, so she put on her best red dress and went down there to go get a job. She's the best loved girl in the whole place, but she's still not happy. It's not what
Because
she
she's
wanted.
not married.
Right. It's not true love. So,
Wow.
she used to go out to the second-story balcony of the Dock Street Theater and think about coming back to the church. The pre-Caesar one night goes down there, and the storm rolls in, and lightning strikes the wrought iron banister that she's laying on and kills her. Yeah. So here's the funny thing about her ghost. When you see her ghost, it's from the knees up only. Like, she looks really short. You can't see the bottom of her dress. First thing is that they say you can see the red in her ghost from the red dress, which is weird because apparitions usually show up like a milky white. Right?
Yeah.
So from the knees up only. We renovated this, I think, in 2003, and they raised the first floor ceiling. So she's walking on the floor that she knows. If you're on the second floor and you see her, she's walking on the original floor.
Oh,
So
wow.
take that for what it's worth. Now, the evidence that I have from there, it's from a fire that actually happened in the Radcliffeboro neighborhood, which is somewhere near where we started. This is Charleston. We recycle everything. They brought some of the wood from one of the mansions that burned down over there up here. So it's the doors that you see when you walk in to the first floor, to the main theater room, and then it's the banister you see. It's like a chair rail, like 12 feet in the air on the second story. So all of that wood.
We've been to that theater.
Yeah. I actually
Wow.
I went there to go see Narnia. That was right before
Oh.
COVID.
Nice.
That was actually really cool, actually.
Huh.
I took my daughter to go see it. My youngest
Huh.
daughter. I have all girls, by the way.
That was,
Lucky guy,
see? That's, remember when I heard all girls
yeah,
earlier?
but
It
you
was
said
about
5
you.
little girls. I don't have 5.
Oh.
I don't have
Well,
5.
minor discrepancy.
Even if we count the dogs and the birds. Yeah, I'm still not up to 5. That would be 4.
Oh.
But anyway, so we are actually going to be, the last investigation we're going to do is this building right here. Do you know what this building is?
It looks like a church.
Most people think those are crosses.
No?
They're
Okay.
actual earthquake bolts.
Oh.
Those are the very first earthquake bolts that were installed in Charleston.
Those two right there?
Yep. That building is the powder magazine. So
Oh.
let me kind of give you a quick history on the powder magazine. I'm going to take this off for just a second because I need something. So the powder magazine is our oldest government building.
Are you saying powder or power?
Powder.
Powder.
Gunpowder.
Oh, okay.
So, it held gunpowder in 7 different rooms. It is where it is. Remember I told you where the Charlestown walls were? This is Cumberland Street. It came up right along next to it.
Yeah.
Okay? And it stopped 1/2 block away from where that building is now. So it's literally tucked in the corner of the Charlestown walls. Because we're 3 blocks away from the water, if a ship were to shoot a cannonball, that building, the roof is filled with sand from 1712, and it's still there, and the walls are 32 inches thick. So if it were to get hit by a cannonball, the blast would stay contained, and the gunpowder would be safe.
Wow.
Well, not so much the gunpowder, but the buildings and
The
wall around
building,
it.
yeah.
So, during that time period of this building being built, between 1703 and 1712, because it was finished in 1713. 1708 to 1709, we had a young lady that moved to town from Ireland with her dad. Well, and her mom. But her mom was the father's maid. He was a mistress from Ireland. So, to get away from his wife, he picked up his mistress and his daughter, and he moved to Charleston. Got on a ship, and away they came. Her name was Anne Cormack. During the time, this is the only tie I have to this building, and why I get so much data from here, is because of the time period. When she was a teenager, pirates start coming through town. She falls in love with one of them. His name's James Bonney. Against Dad's will, they move to Jamaica, and they get married. James Bonney did not turn out to be the pirate she wanted him to be. He turns into a privateer,
Shocker.
which means he's basically a spy for the British. Yeah, so now he's not a cool pirate like she wanted. She wanted somebody pretty badass.
She's
Right?
stuck in Jamaica with him.
Yeah, so that's okay. There's lots more pirates.
Oh, good.
So
Okay.
she falls in love with another one.
Hmm.
His name was John Rackham, aka Calico Jack. Calico Jack is an upcoming very handsome pirate. He's pretty badass. So she falls in love with him, and she wants to join his crew. And he says, okay, you can join my crew. You can also be my girlfriend, but you can only be a female when you're in my captain's quarters. You have to dress like a man to become part of the crew and not curse my ship. She agrees. She wants to be a pirate. This is what she does. So she dresses like a man, and she was already used to that because when he lived in Ireland, father was trying to hide the daughter, so he dressed her up as a boy, as an apprentice to his attorneys. So it was a big long thing where she was so used to dressing up like a boy anyway. She said, whatever, I don't care. So of course she's allowed to be a girl in his quarters. She gets pregnant. What's he do? He drops her off in Cuba to have the baby because she can't be showing that she's pregnant and curse the ship. So we don't know what happened to that baby. She comes back to the ship dressed like a girl. She doesn't give a damn anymore about hiding her gender. She doesn't care. When she gets back, Calico Jack he's not paying attention to her as much. So during the time that she was gone, Calico Jack captured another ship with prisoners downstairs. She starts flirting with one of those prisoners to kind of get Calico Jack's attention. Well, it turns out that the person she was flirting with was doing the exact same thing that she was doing to join Calico Jack's ship initially. This was a girl dressed like a boy. So, yeah, big drama.
Wowzers.
So, what happens from there is she reveals her gender. Her name's Mary Reed. So whenever you look up Anne Bonny, you always get Mary Reed. By the way, Anne is still married to the first husband, James Bonny. Calico Jack tried to buy off the dowry to get James to divorce her, and he said no. So she's still married, but with Calico Jack. Lots of confusion here, sorry. But anyway, so her and Mary Reed become really good friends. They're two females. She convinces Mary, I don't care, he doesn't care. Let's join a crew. I'm already here. Her ship's already cursed because we're girls. Who cares? So, the British attack the ship. All of the men are downstairs drunk, protecting all the prisoners, and it's Anne and Mary protecting the ship only above deck. Obviously, the ship gets captured because two females against the whole British Navy are not going to work out. So all of the pirates that were downstairs, including the prisoners that were there, they're all tried and hung for piracy pretty early. Anne and Mary, they were held captive a little bit longer. Their trial was about a week later, and the judge, his name was Nicholas. Imagine that. So during that time, there was two Nicholas Chief Justices, one in Jamaica and one right here in Charleston.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Nicholas Trott was our first Chief Justice. He was from and lived here. Not from here, he moved here, I'm sorry. But anyway, back to her trial. So they're about to try her for piracy, and they convict her for piracy, but then both her and Mary, they say, we're girls. We're female.
Yeah.
So they reveal their gender, and they're like, well, we don't care. You're still going to get convicted. Then they did what they call plead their bellies, which means they were both claiming to be pregnant. Which means now, because they're convicted, they can't be hung right away. So they both go back to jail, and Dad, here in Charleston, is able to bail out Anne, because he's got money from Ireland.
Right.
So he goes down to Jamaica, talks to Nicholas, and gets him out. Anne comes back here, allegedly moved up to Virginia. Some say she stayed here, married again, had plenty of children, and lived to the ripe old age of 84. Why we have such a specific number with all these holes in the story, I don't know, which is part of the reason why we're here. Mary, however, died in the Jamaican jail from whatever pirates died from in Jamaican jails.
Oh my
So,
God.
take that for what it's worth. Now, this is your end training of, I'm not going to give you any questions to ask. There's a lot of holes in the story. I don't have all the answers.
Her house, so that was her house?
No. The only thing that ties her here is the time period. She would have seen this building being built when she was a child. And because it's the oldest building here in Charleston, the funny thing is...
But you felt her, or you...
I've gotten stuff from her here. Her name came up here last night.
So what on earth would bring her here?
Something familiar. That's about the extent of what I have.
What do you think it is?
I never even told
Let's
this.
ask her. Take your thing out.
Yeah, we can go get close to the building. So you guys can actually see the earthquake holes a little bit better.
I have no idea those were earthquakes. I've seen the circular ones.
Yeah, well, we're
I've just
on
never...
this apartment building.
Oh, I've seen those too, but I've never seen anything like that.
So, I'll be honest, I used to take people through Philadelphia Alley and then go down to the Wagner building, and that was the end of the tour. I don't get into pirates, but when...
He loves pirates.
I'm just not into it. It was an X-ray, so I kind of like stayed away from it. But when I started, I was like, all right, guys, I don't know how much we're going to get here because this is, again, part of the legends and lore. And then all of a sudden, and the funny thing is I started this on November 28th of 2020, the exact 300-year anniversary of her trial. So, of course, I get the number 300. I've got her name.
Would the trial have been near here?
No, the trial was in Jamaica.
In Jamaica. What used to be... Okay, so this used to be this was just the magazine building?
Yeah, it's a museum now.
And that was part of it? That too?
This was not here.
Oh, that was
Just
just it.
That's just this building. This is the oldest government building we have on the East Coast.
Holy shit.
So because it served in 7 different wars, gunpowder would come in and out pretty quickly. They come in here, hide it, and then move it during different battles and wars. So it didn't serve it like Civil War from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Because they would find it.
Yeah.
So they would bring it here, people would guard it, and then they'd move it again. Nobody died here, nobody was ever held captive here. Like, no tragedies are here.
Look how
It was
little
never
that
hit.
little door is. Is that a door?
I think that's like access to some of like the new things that they added to it. But there's like when you visit it, it's a museum. So it shows all the different uniforms and the artillery from those different wars and that kind of thing. And it's not a big building, but it held a ton of gunpowder.
Just for gunpowder.
Just for gunpowder.
Wow. All right, what do you want to ask?
You ask first.
I don't know what to ask. So we're talking to, what's her name?
Anne.
Anne?
Mm-hmm. Anne Bonnie. Oh, look at that, taxpayer.
Taxpayer. Anne, what brings you to this area?
Dear doe guy.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a whole lot out of here.
Turn it up a little bit.
Her name came up plain as day last night. Anne.
Really? How about... Anne, did you live near here in Charleston?
I know that answer.
Like, yes and no is bad, but...
But still. But I know that answer. It's
Is it yes?
It's a no.
Where'd she live?
She actually lived near Georgetown.
Oh, like not even in Charleston?
No, father did business down here.
Oh.
So she was down here often as a kid because dad wasn't really paying attention to her. Mother died early once they got here. So it was just her and dad, and he's trying to run a business. He was trying to run a farm. He was learning how to farm in Georgetown because he was an attorney. He didn't have any attorney skills here in Charleston. He didn't know our United States laws. Well, they weren't even I guess we would have been in the United States.
Because they were, did you say Irish? That
Yeah. So she is considered an Irish-American pirate.
Isn't that funny?
And there's really cool books on her. And I've had to read a lot of them. And every story's different. So I kind of piece together what I tell y'all here based on the similar things I find in the stories.
Yeah.
So you have to imagine how many books I read.
Oh, I'm sure, a ton.
Disaster. Which disaster are you referring to? Your life? Because it was a mess.
Oh, right. Disaster. Did she come back here to visit? Well, after.
Well, some
that
stories
was a
say that she came back here and lived here.
Oh,
Others
really?
say that she came here to like pick up some few things from Dad's house, and then she moved up to Virginia, and nobody knows where she went after that. We don't even know what her new married name would have been. Like there's no documentation. But the age of 84 is very specific in all the stories.
That's weird.
It is weird. Yeah, she was because she was a female pirate. Like there's a lot of speculation and girl power kind of stuff that I find
weird.
It is. And I've listened to probably 15 to 20 different podcasts that talk about her trying to find a similarity. There's not a whole lot.
Yeah.
They're all that much different.
Ask her a question. Something about being a pirate.
What about...
Did you ever find any booty?
And why don't you tell us the name of the female pirate you were friends with? What was her name? What's the name of your other friend, the female pirate? And what's weird is the EMF. This is usually a dead zone. So if I get something here, it's exciting. Like there's nothing going on.
There's nothing?
Nothing. Batteries are dying. Life. Disaster life. Didn't I just say that?
Oh, it said life?
Yeah.
I thought
Tell
you
us
were
about
just
your
making a
disastrous
comment
life.
like batteries are dying. That's life. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Come on, Ann. We need a few things from you.
Well, I did say, Anne, what brings you to this part? Maybe she was saying life, disaster,
Yeah.
maybe.
Where was your life a disaster? Where did you come from?
Yeah. Where were you born, Anne?
Just gonna verify I don't have another tour after you.
That would be bad.
No, it's only 8:30.
Oh.
There's a certain cutoff time.
Oh,
that
that's
people
smart.
have
You gotta
So if
get
there's-
time to get down here, huh?
Well, it's an hour before, or I'm sorry, 2 hours before the tour starts. So like cutoff time for yours would be 5 o'clock. But unless somebody's already in it, then they have till 6:30.
Oh, that makes sense.
So that way I know meeting up with you guys, because there's still 15 minutes before I say 6:45 to 7. Like everything's planned out perfectly. I've been
That's
doing this long
awesome.
enough now.
Yeah. You know what to do.
That's why I said I don't even pay attention to time anymore. Like it almost runs 90 minutes to 105 minutes perfectly.
That's awesome. I'm so intrigued by this building. I've never really even looked at it. I had no idea it was
We
a
can go check out the
gunpowder.
front. Let's turn it down just a hair, so in case there's another tour up there, we're not disturbing them. It's still recording anyway. Are you still recording, Mom? Square?
I am. Now that I know what it looks like to still be recording.
You know the great thing is?
Hope
you
I
guys
didn't
paid
ruin
me and I
anything.
put you to work.
Oh, we like it.
Because all of this stuff is going to help me get my PhD program and into the program.
Well, then we'll accept royalties.
I think Leonardo fell in, huh?
How did you just trip?
No, I tried to jump from
Oh.
So this is the front. And in the 90s, they actually, like, picked
Wow.
some of the roof shingles that you see up there, and they found the same. It's
That's
still
what I
there.
was saying. Like, so the sand was all on top of it?
Yep, it's still in there.
Oh, that's crazy.
And sand doesn't disintegrate. That's why they used it. Because it feather. That's weird.
Well, because people were
Feathers in their hat. Because I was just
What's
thinking.
the EMF doing? Not much.
Oh, that guy
Well,
doesn't
we also
a
have
feather in his
parking
hat.
meters nearby.
Oh, that's
You have to remember, our parking meters underneath, like the wiring for it and the crosswalks, is underneath the sidewalk. So it's strong enough because it's running through here
That
to be able to
it'll
give me
set
a
it
little
off.
blip. But I don't get anything inside either. I have a season pass in here because of the books that they have.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'm in here a lot. I haven't been in a while because I've been so busy with school.
What
but
are
I
those
was-
things called?
Cannons?
Those are like the gallows.
Where you put your head
Yeah,
and
and
arms?
that's just for show. None of that stuff actually happened here. And I'm pretty sure they would tell you.
Wow, this building is so... So this building was built in what year?
Finished in 1713.
Holy cow.
Now, we actually have a house in town you've probably heard of.
Mm-hmm.
That's 1 year older than this. We just don't have proof because it's not documented properly. And that's the Pink House. It was finished in 1712. But this is the oldest government building that was a home. And what's interesting...
Wait, somebody lived here when it was storing all the gunpowder?
No, this was
Oh.
a house.
I thought you said it was a government building that was a home. No.
No.
Wasn't a home. Okay. Okay,
That's
sorry.
what Anne Bonny looked like.
Let me see. Wow.
So that is actually part of
Pirate.
a sketch from her, and that's Mary Read. You can see she was pretty mannish.
Yeah. Wow. They're going to be in our dreams. At least they
but
didn't
she's been
haunt us
depicted like
today.
she's actually in.
The
Do you play video
feather.
games?
Yeah.
Do you play Assassin's Creed?
No.
So Assassin's Creed Black Flag, the whole story of Anne Bonny and Mary Read is in there.
That's cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're characters in the video game.
That's crazy.
It's not accurate, but it's still fun to play.
Holy cow.
But yeah, this
I
is.
feel like feather has something to do with like them
Yeah,
wearing it
I'm
in
gonna
their
have
hat
to.
or
And
something.
well, the word straw came up right before it.
Oh, really?
So straw, feather.
Oh, that guy's not wearing a feather.
Yeah. Well,
This is so cool.
but yeah, another. I told you about the other Chief Justice.
Mm-hmm.
So the house right next to this. We'll actually go back this way a little bit, just so because I know some tours are probably gonna stop in front here. The Chief Justice I told you about, Nicholas Tribe. He hung Steve Bonnet's pirates right on White Pine Garden.
Oh my god.
No, that's what they call the Nicholas Tribe house. That's a misnomer too. So he rented that place for a very short time. He lived where Dock Street Theater is now.
Oh wow.
It was a house before it was Planters Hotel with the prostitution, and then Dock Street
Yeah, yeah,
Theater.
yeah.
It was a house. So when you're back in the courtyard of Dock Street Theater, back in the corner where the elevator is, that was Chief Justice Nicholas Trott's privy, meaning it was his bathroom. So when you're in the elevator,
Wow.
you're where I dragged you to take a dump. Put it bluntly. So
A chief judge.
he was a Chief Justice.
Chief justice. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Parent, what brought you here? Parent.
I am.
No, I'm talking about her. You said what brought you here.
Oh. Ooh, creepy.
Cool stuff. I'm digging it.
Gives me the chills.
Alright, so
You sure that's not just the weather?
No.
I'm gonna
not.
call it from here. Mom, you'll get my card. You guys have already visited my website already.
Yes.
I usually hand
You
these
have
out
to
just so
give
people
back
have
his.
mine.
You have to give him back his device. Oh.
And then, hang on, let me get the card to Mom
Oh
first.
yeah.
And then, of course, well, you're local. You're getting more than one.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. Seriously. Our
So-
friends would love it.
So take a
Thank
couple
you.
there. Thank you. How did you guys book again?
Online. We went through a Charleston City paper.
Clicked book now.
Oh yeah, that's right. You guys went straight to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. So Peak is my like my booking agent that takes care of everything.
You want your own card? Okay. Yes.
You should have the. Just go to storiesinthecemetery.com. That's the easiest thing in the world.